Hello and welcome to the show. And today we're joined by Aaron DeVos of DeVos Tree Care down in Hamilton, Ontario. Going to share some insights. I've been following Aaron for a while, and he is a super smart, intelligent, fun guy. I'm sure you're going to add a lot to this, Aaron.
It should be fun. I look forward to it. Yeah,
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. A few
Good.
problems I had to solve earlier this morning, but all is well and
Good.
excited to get into it.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask you that first question that I'm asking everybody on the podcast.
Sure.
And that is, in your opinion, what separates tree service companies that thrive from those that just survive? And do you have one or two things that stand out for you?
Yeah, I knew this question was coming, so I thought about it quite a bit. I don't even entirely know how I'm going to answer, but I know one of the big things I see is companies that communicate really well. Because one reason that guys get into the tree business is they're really good at working on trees. But the communication piece, this is all contractors. The communication piece is something that guys need to work on. I always tell my crews, I always tell whoever I'm talking to, it's always better to over communicate than under communicate. So communicate when you're coming to do a quote. Communicate when the job is scheduled as soon as possible. Communicate that you're en route. Communicate when the job's done, ask for a review, just talk through things, make sure things are written down. I find that communication piece is super important with staff as well, for sure. Um, yeah, that's a big one.
Now, I'm guessing I'm going to ask you about this later, but I guess you use some software as well to help you with the communication. So maybe we could dig into that a little bit later
Yeah, I use one or two softwares. Yeah,
because you're a software guy, right?
a little bit. I mean, sometimes you run into problems with software, but I mean, CRMs are really important. I liken them to having a girlfriend. They're expensive, and you have to put time in. And it's really important you've picked the right one because you might be investing in it for the long haul. So I'm really gung ho on guys find the right CRM that works for
Mhm.
them and can
That's
grow with
awesome.
them. That's another big
Yeah,
thing.
that's another big
So
thing. Yeah, growth. So before we get onto your amazing website and what you offer there, because I want to dig into that, tell us about yourself. Where did you come from? Where are you now? And what are you about?
sure. Born and raised in Cambridge, Ontario, which is about an hour from Toronto. Now I'm in Hamilton, but yeah, raised in Cambridge. My older brother owned a lawn maintenance company. He got into some landscaping. He was around 15. He couldn't drive yet. I tagged along with him in my parents' minivan, spilled gasoline once or twice in that minivan, had a lot of fun times. It was great. I really enjoyed it. It really formed the foundation where I'm at today. I learned how to interact with customers at a really early age. My brother kind of threw me into the fire because he went off to university and then I managed his company. Well, he was in university. I skipped more than one or two classes, that's for sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed talking to customers of all types, elderly people and young people, and learning what makes them tick. What are their fears? What are the things that they're looking forward to? What are their hopes? And kind of feeding off of that I think in a really healthy way. But yeah, I did that, and then I went off to university. Kind of got bored of working with lawns and landscaping. I got into tree planting that paid my way through university. So I worked in remote areas of northern Ontario. So it all started with little trees, and
Hmm.
then after university, I worked for one of the bigger outfits, got certified, and right away started on my own. So I've owned DeVos Tree Care now for 10 years. Loving it.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you to stand back a little bit for your camera because I don't
Okay.
know if you perfect. Stay there.
There we go.
So what? Actually, let's dig into that a little bit. Most people work for somebody else for their career. Not a lot of people start their own business. Is that because of your? Did you want to do that because of the history with your brother's company, or is it are you entrepreneurial?
It kind of runs in the family. So my mom owned kind of like a clothing and jewelry store of sorts for many years. And then, yeah, my brother was very entrepreneurial. And then for me, it was partly a strategic move. Anyone who's climbed trees for at least a little while knows that's really hard on the body. Um, Actually, what was really helpful for the business was that I got married. That really forced me to kick into high gear where it's like, okay,
Mm.
getting married, thinking about having kids, what's a good long-term way to take care of the family? And so running a business felt like the next logical step for me for sure.
How do you do that? How do you start a business, especially when you're just married, and presumably finances are difficult at that time. Like, how do you even, if I wanted to start a tree service company and I was an experienced climber, how do I do that?
You know what? Most guys just tiptoe in. And that's the way I was, you know? You just do the odd side job, and then next thing you know, word of mouth gets bigger, and you're like, you kind of wake up one day almost, and you're like, I actually own a company. Like this is
Right.
legitimately a company, right? So it started with a pickup truck and a trailer, and then you're strategizing, how am I going to get all these branches off the trailer in an efficient way? And then you're like, oh, I need a little bit more help. And then it's like, you know what? I need an actual chipper. So yeah, I tiptoed into it, realized there's definitely potential here to make this a long-term business. People loved what we did. We got great feedback, so I knew I was on the right track there.
Hmm.
So yeah, one step at a time. That's how I got into it. Yeah, nothing overnight.
Communication as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Make sure you talk to people.
yeah, yeah.
So, what are the things you had to get in place to start the business? I mean, all of the background stuff, I suppose. You can have a paper and a pencil and you can keep track of clients, but I'm guessing you got to have insurance certifications, everything like that lined up. Any tricks and traps that you found, or?
I mean, I didn't start a company until I became ISA certified arborist. I wanted there to be some sort of trust between me and the customer. And
Mm,
so having that ISA, it's quite debatable how trustworthy the ISA is. I won't get into that. But having that credential was definitely, that gave me the confidence to be like, okay, I can go in there, I know what I'm doing, and I can help customers make the right plan of action. And then, reading a lot of books, YouTube is quite helpful.
yeah,
Talking to others. I really didn't get into like going to some of the conferences until later in my career, like TCIA. I didn't start going to that till around 3 years ago. ISA was last year. Kind of sad that it took me so long to jump into that. But yeah, I would say getting the credential was really, really had to be the starting place for me
mm,
um, into the business. And then, yeah, like you said, insurance. Um, figuring out all the rules operating a business here in Ontario, Canada. That was a lot. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so you have to when you start a company, you think it's just about the trees, but there's so much other stuff you have to learn about payroll
right.
and QuickBooks and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
and you fumble your way through it. One of my regrets is I didn't hire a bookkeeper until like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I wish I did that sooner. Um, you're great at trees, but you need someone to help you in the first point with the
Yeah,
books. That's
yeah.
really helpful.
Big bookkeeping is a big
It
deal. I
takes a
forget that
load
one.
off of you, right? It really just takes a load off you so you can specialize in what you do really well. So,
Right, and then I guess you got to buy equipment as well.
got to buy equipment, but I started small. Pickup truck and a trailer. In fact, I borrowed my brother's pickup truck and I borrowed a friend's trailer. Interestingly enough, someone hit my friend's trailer, so I had to replace that phone. But I started off with zero. I bootstrapped the company from the beginning. I'm fairly proud of that. I think that's the way a lot of
Yeah,
guys got to do it. Um, unless they got some money that came in from mom and dad, you kind of got to start small, and it's a good way to do it because you got to learn how things are done. Like you can't buy all the fancy tree climbing gear. You got to start with all
mm.
rope on rope kind of action, and it really helps you learn by starting right at the basics. So.
So what kind of services did you offer when you started out then? I mean, if you're not buying a lot of equipment,
Oh, well, you turned away any large trees, that's for sure.
that's
You
where I was
just start
going.
with the small stuff. If you got a good pruning job, that was your bread
Mm.
and butter. You didn't want to do removals, that's for sure. And then each year you just get more and more confident, right? It wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago we started taking on crane work because we now have the equipment for
Mm.
it. Um, so yeah, it's you start small and you work from there for sure.
When you I'm loving this story. So you're driving around in your truck, you're doing pruning jobs for people, and you're thinking about either staying small and just driving around and working for yourself. Life is good, or you're
Yeah.
thinking about how do I grow this company? I'm assuming because I know you're thinking about how do I grow this company. How do you do that? Is it just word of mouth and doing good jobs, telling people to refer you to friends? Um,
Um,
how do you do that?
I mean, I did lawn signs for a little bit to help get the word out there. The problem with lawn signs, I personally find them really tacky.
Mm,
I don't like them. They're relatively cheap, but I happen to know I happen to have a few connections to guys who did SEO and websites, and I realized to get the largest audience possible, I had to be on the internet.
mm,
So I quickly jumped onto that at an early age, early stage in the business of SEO. I understood what that meant. SEO is kind of changing once again, but I understood how important that is and how to rank. And so I started producing articles. Me and you briefly talked in the background about a book, They Ask You Answer.
yep.
For those that don't know, it's a book by Marcus Sheridan, and it basically is what are the questions that your customers are asking? Answer them in a very clear, coherent, and short manner. And so I started answering those questions through the website. What's the best time of the year to prune a tree? How much does it cost to remove a tree? How much does it cost to prune a tree? Um, what kinds of credentials do people need to work on your trees? There's millions of questions that people ask, and you
Mm,
literally just start writing them down.
mm.
And I realized that there's a lot that people like they just have no idea about. They feel like they're left in the dark. And so if I can help them address those questions, then they can trust me with giving them a price and carrying out the work. So
Yeah,
that was a big thing for me.
your website's evolved quite a bit through the years, I
Yeah.
know. And in fact, if anybody hasn't seen your website, they should go and look at it because
Yeah.
when I compare it to standard tree service websites, yours stands out
Yeah.
heads and shoulders. And a lot of that is to do with things like pricing guides you have,
Yeah. Yeah.
complete transparency.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I'll say about my website, it's been through like 7 iterations and it
Mm,
will continue to go through
yeah,
iterations. I find a lot of guys have a website and they kind of set it and forget it. And there's something good about that. You don't want to mess with the SEO, but um, I find I constantly have new ideas and need to work on them. So yeah, my website has a price guide and that price guide is continuing to evolve. But one of the things I find some other tree guys have price guides, but it's too hard. It's just way too difficult. For example, they'll say if your tree is above 50 feet tall, then it could be this much. Or if it's above 70 feet tall, it could be that much. People don't know how tall their tree is.
right.
Um, so I try to use really human terminology to help people understand height. So for example, is it shorter than your garage?
Mm,
Is it shorter than a 1.5 story house? Is it shorter than a 2.5 story house? Is it taller than a 2.5 story house? I ask questions like, how wide is your tree? I don't say, is it less than a foot wide? Is it less than 2 feet wide? I say, is it less than your shoulder? Is it less than one elbow outstretched out to the other shoulder? Is it less than two elbows outstretched? I don't know if people can picture that, but just to
yeah.
really give a way that anyone can figure it out. We want to know access to the backyard. So rather than people take out a tape measure, if they can get 4 steps heel to toe, through their narrowest part, then we can get a dingo or whatever small piece of equipment we need to get through into the backyard. So I ask very basic, short questions, and that helps them get a price, a ballpark. So
Right, and I saw that on the website. I was looking at removal costs, and I followed your beautiful graphics. A tree is less than the width of a person's head,
yeah, yeah,
uh,
that's right.
right? A tree is less than the width of a person's shoulders,
Yeah,
and a tree is less than the width of elbows outstretched. So I found myself
yeah,
standing in my office doing this.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, now I understand. This is easy.
Yeah,
So you're,
I
you're speaking you're speaking human language, which is fantastic. There's no
yeah.
science.
I recently did a presentation and I was showing people this with the head and the shoulder. Felt like I was doing the chicken dance right in front of them. Anyways, it was pretty funny. Yeah, when you approach the question from what would really help your customers make the best decisions possible for their trees and get the right price possible, I find that really opens the door to building trust and finding avenues to do that, whether it's through social media or a website or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I got to say, like the way that I'm looking at your website now, the way that it's set up is very different
yeah,
to most
yeah.
companies.
Yeah, so for example, like another thing that's different is um, pulling from Marcus Sheridan's book again. I don't have a section called blog. I
Mm,
despise the word blog because
yeah,
it's for a professional company that should know what they're doing. People don't want to read your blog. They want to know what you
mm,
actually have to say. What is factual, not what I theorize about this. What is the facts on whether my tree should be removed or whether it should stay? So I call it a learning hub. I don't
mm,
call it a blog.
yeah.
Yeah. So
What else have you got here? Let me look through. Your let's do a quick plug for groundwork because you're using groundwork, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, and it's a different way of giving a quote.
yeah. So it's different. Uh, I guess my website's funny in a couple ways. It's hard to find a phone number on my website, and most guys listening to this are probably rolling their eyes like you idiot. So I really encourage people to submit a video first. So we call it a
Mm,
video first approach. Um, and that helps, first of all, give customers feedback right away to what's going on. Because sometimes I could show up to a tree job and they think something's wrong with the tree, but it's just lichen that's growing on the tree. Whereas with the video first approach, I can tell them instantly, this is what's going on with your tree. We don't actually need to do anything with your tree. I don't want to sell services that people don't need. Um,
right.
so it's really quick. Also, if it's a storm, someone submits a video, I can assess it, I can give them a price, and I know exactly what equipment we need. Um, the when people think video, I think they get the wrong impression of what our process is. So the problem with most people who ask customers for a video on a tree is that it would be like if IKEA delivered a package to you and you had to assemble it, but you had no instruction manual. That's the way most tree services or whatever contractor asks for videos from their customer. They don't have like a manual for how to build the video. I don't mean how to submit the video. We actually make it super easy. I mean, what do I, as the tree service company, need to see? So basically, we have a series of videos based off of what people want. So if someone wants their stump ground, they'll watch one video and that'll highlight that we really need certain access in terms of width to get our stump ground in the property. It'll also
Mm,
highlight like how far rocks and fences are away from the stump. And then they just mimic the video. So for our videos, you always start in the driveway. So whether it's
right.
stump grinding, tree removal, tree planting, whatever, you start in the driveway and you walk towards where the tree is. And then I don't need to see the leaves necessarily for a tree removal. I need to see what's around the tree. So they have to
Mm,
actually walk around the tree. If they can, we'd like to see what's in the neighbor's property without trespassing. So I really try to make it really easy in terms of how people can submit the right information to us. So
That's
that's what groundwork is.
yeah, it's a
Um,
little less traditional than usual. How is that working for you guys? Like we all on our phones,
Yeah, yeah. So how
right?
does it? Let me fill out the like the process for how it works. So they fill out like kind of like a traditional form online. They select what kind of services they want, where they live, and all that, and then they have to. The absolute requirement is they have to put in a cell phone number. So they put in a cell phone number. Instantly, once they press enter, they get a text message sent to their phone saying, "Thanks for reaching out to DeVos Tree Care. We'd love to help you. Watch our short video," and then you just mimic the video. So they watch the short video, they mimic the video, and then they just hit start record, stop record, it sends. And so we actually have a policy that will get you an estimate within 24 hours.
Mm. I
So
love. I
because it's really fast and easy, I have to sell it to them. So I have to
Yeah.
make it appealing for them to want to send a video. So the way I make it appealing is we'll get you an estimate today, excluding
Right.
Sundays.
Right.
So
Because
yeah.
you're putting some work onto the owner of the tree.
Yeah,
They're
that's right.
doing a little bit of work up front, but it's
And
also presumably saving you guys from going out and saying, "Ha, you got lichen on your tree."
it is. I think in the tree industry, it's very, very easy for a customer to get 5 or more quotes. I'm not saying that always
Mm,
happens, but I feel, I talk about this for a bit. I feel like tree guys let themselves get abused quite easily. I've been there. I still
mm,
sometimes am abused. Like it's a Saturday and there's someone who really needs a tree gone on the other side of town. You're like, I'm gonna go quote it. And so you take away from your family time, you go quote it, you spend 45 minutes driving. The customer wants to chat, you want to give them the best information possible. You spend a half hour with them, then you drive 45 minutes home. What are we at? 2 hours eating out of your day at least.
yeah.
So I think as an industry, we have to be a little smarter in terms of our processes. And I don't have it all figured out. But the video first thing has worked out quite well. There are people who push back against it, and I have no problem if people want us to go in person, but I do charge an assessment fee
Mm.
to go see trees in person. So,
That's interesting. Can I talk about that for a
yeah,
bit?
yeah, yeah. I love talking about this stuff.
Okay, so do I. This is and this is really useful for people who are thinking of starting their own business as well. Free quotes. Everybody goes and gives free quotes. We recently put a little checkbox on a form on a website for one of our clients. Do you want, I forget what it said now, but it was, do you want a priority arborist consultation? And it was a $160 fee.
Yeah,
That checkbox kept getting checked. People were happy to pay that to bring somebody out to basically look at the tree, see what the problem was. And it's not a free quote. It's like a plumber coming and
yeah.
doing an estimate or something like that. You usually have some kind of charge on top of that as well. But equally, I know a lot of tree companies that we must give free quotes now. We must drive 45 minutes, give a quote, come back. Maybe we have a route to do that, get to a few different people. How do you see that part of the industry?
So you're not just giving a quote when you give a quote. I know a lot of tree guys, they've given like thousands of quotes, but they're always giving assessments. So not only giving a free quote, you're also giving a free assessment every time you go. Um, so that's where I see the issue being is that you're also giving an assessment. It's a crazy dangerous industry. So when you're assessing it for the sake of the homeowner, their safety, their security, but also for yourself because you know in full well it's dangerous. They in the States they keep better track of this than we here in Canada, but the number of fatalities associated with our industry, they often associate to like struck bys or electrocution, or there's a few different categories. I almost wish they had one. It's too hard to calculate. I know it's not going to happen. Associated with sales and poor sales. Because what happens with the free quote process is it becomes about quantity. So you don't want to go out to just do one quote. That's kind of a waste of your time because you know you might not get it. So what you'll do is you'll stack quotes together. I know I've stacked like 16 quotes together roughly a few times for one day. So you're just trying to get out and do as many quotes as possible because you know if you do 16 quotes, you might get, I don't know, 10 or what, pick a number. So the problem with that is you might not have walked on the other side of the tree and realize like there's a huge cavity on the other side of the tree. I quoted this for pruning, but maybe now it should get removed. And customers
Hmm.
don't want to waste their money. Like you might have quoted them for pruning it, and then the guys do the job and then realize afterwards this tree really should have been removed. You wasted their money. So I think it can be argued to the customer that assessment is safer and more financially prudent than doing a free quote. So. Yeah. And
I
what a
feel
lot of
like,
guys will do is they'll waive the assessment fee
yeah.
if people go ahead with it. And the other thing people should know is if I've
Hmm.
got a past customer, I'm not charging them assessment fee. I respect that relationship. I don't want to price gouge. I
Right.
respect that relationship, so I will not charge them for assessment fee.
Well,
Uh,
that's
qu- yeah,
that's
one
building
other thing
trust
I'll
with
say about it
existing.
is I
Yeah.
don't call it consultation fee. I know a lot of guys use the word consultation fee. The reason why I don't call it consultation fee is because sometimes the job is very clear cut, straightforward. Like the city issued a work order for this homeowner to cut down the tree because it's dead. The homeowner doesn't need a consultation.
Right.
It's very clear. The tree has to be removed. At this point, it's just an assessment. So we're assessing how do we get the job done safely, what equipment, how many guys do we have to bring out. So I don't call it consultation. I call it assessment. Some guys who might specialize more in the consultation arboriculture route might call consultation, but I call assessment.
Okay,
So
and so it certainly
I
would be
threw a lot of things
beneficial.
at you. I'm sorry,
No,
Graham.
no, this is amazing. It would be beneficial if more companies did this,
Yeah.
right? I
Well,
mean, it
it
really
makes it
is.
real. I'll be honest, it makes it really hard for us. I had someone leave us a 1-star review because they're like, no one else does this. You're price gouging me. And so it is not an easy thing to do.
No.
Um, but I think it's a good thing to do. I think as an industry we're we're very courageous climbing a tree. We're very ballsy, if I could use that word.
Yep.
But I find sometimes with the customer interactions, we're way too timid. We need to be a little
Mm,
bit more forthright.
right.
I think that would do us all a service. I do believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. I feel like I'm standalone in my area for guys who charge assessment fee. So I just get a ton of pushback from customers. And so be it. We have a decent amount of leads that I can afford to lose some. So for the people who
Mm,
don't want to go the video route, those who want me to just drive out there and look at their trees, yeah, I do lose a bunch because of the assessment fee.
yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Can I stick my neck out there and say
Yeah, do
that
it.
might people want to play the price game anyway,
Yeah, for sure.
right? Because I mean, again, I know somebody who he used to play the price game against his competition. So if his competition said this price, he would say this price. It's a losing
Yeah,
battle. He realized that he was basically not making any money and he elevated his game and he refused to do that. And in fact, he raised his prices. And not only did he get a better clientele, he effectively got more respect. And he was also able to get rid of those tire kickers pretty quickly as well. And his business improved. I don't know if
yeah.
that's true. And this is in the States. I don't know if this is true, globally, but an interesting stance that he took because he just couldn't cope with that price chopping everywhere.
Yeah, no, I
You
get
know,
kind of sick of it. I had one situation where I looked at a customer's tree. Um, they have multiple trees. One of the trees had a disease called black knot. I pointed out to them and I said, we could try and get rid of it. There's a few things we could do. It's a bit of a losing battle, but she's like, okay, you know what? Just quote me on removing it. It was a choke cherry, not a huge thing, but I quoted her on removing it. And then I didn't close the deal right then and there, but I reached out to her a couple days later and she's like, oh, you know what? I found someone who could do it cheaper. So she took my advice. She went back to the guys that had quoted just pruning that choke cherry and said, actually, I want you to remove it. And
mm,
they gave her a better price. So it's stuff like that that makes me sick and tired of the 3-quote sales process. I feel like we're stuck in the day and age of the yellow pages a little bit. So what I mean by that is the yellow pages, back in those days, there was very limited information you could find out about a tree company. And so that's why homeowners called up multiple companies because they just couldn't get enough information as to who does the best kind of work, what kind of work should even be given. But in light of the World Wide Web, like all that information should be available. And so I really try to leverage that and provide as much information available so that people can make the right decision for their trees. Um, yeah, people shouldn't have to call around anymore. Like
mm,
a lot of my leads now are from Reddit.
mm,
It's because now back in the yellow pages, you couldn't really ask around who's worked with them, but now
right.
Reddit, like you can find just literally neighbors. Businesses don't really advertise on Reddit. A good chunk of my leads
Mm,
come from Reddit, and it's just what do people think about this tree company? Oh, they're great. They can do whatever you want to do. Awesome. Like go based off of that. You don't have to call three
Yeah,
companies.
yeah.
But
Reputation is everything, right? And
yeah,
what people say these days is everything as well.
yeah,
Also, what you say, and that's why, when I look at your website, I see a website that I can trust. I see information there. It's like to me personally, and I might be different from other people. To be fair, that's what I look for when I want to do business with somebody.
yeah,
And I wouldn't necessarily call around to get different quotes if I like what I see and the
yeah,
brand aligns with my sort of beliefs. I'll go straight there.
yeah, yeah. I I think like sometimes what people will do is they'll look online for three companies that seem trustworthy. The main reason why they call three companies is because they don't know what something costs. There's no way to anchor in our
Mm.
industry. So like to help people understand what I mean by anchoring, like um, if you want new flooring put in your house, you just have to figure out what the square footage, what kind of flooring there is. And then someone could say, oh, that kind of flooring, that square footage, you're
Right.
starting at, 1,800 bucks, whatever it is, I don't know. Whereas in our industry, there's no anchoring. So what happens is the anchoring is the multiple quotes. And I wish that the anchoring didn't have to be a site visit. I wish what does it look like to have an anchoring where, you have a website, you have a really good price guide, and
Right.
that sets the
Right.
anchor so that when people call you, they already know in their head, are you above or below that anchor? That anchor is
Right.
already set, but instead with most customers on their journey, the anchor is the first company that comes, and then the second company, and the third company, and then they figure it out roughly what's fair.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
problem with anchoring is that like all three of those prices could actually be below what the real price should be. So it's all just a kind of a comparison game. It's not really what they're willing to spend. They might spend more than the highest anchor, but it's they want some sort of comparison. So I don't know if
I,
that makes
I like
sense.
transparency. We get the same problem with transparency pricing in our industry as well, right? When you want
Yeah,
to get a quote for marketing, you have to have a call, and then we'll have a proposal, and then we'll tell
yeah,
you how
yeah,
much it's going to cost with this,
yeah,
this, this, and this.
yeah,
And you know, I just want to go to a website and see how much is it going
yeah,
to cost for that thing.
yeah. So
Tell me or educate me.
yeah. So you got to stay tuned because the website's going to change again. Because right now, people have to look at the website and they have to sort of calculate in their head what something might cost. But
Mm.
eventually, it's going to be select section
Yep.
A, B, or C, and then section B, A, B, or C, and then it'll jump out a price. So I want to make it super easy on the front end, but complex on the back end. I know there's tree guys thinking like, oh yeah, if the tree is in the front yard versus the backyard, it changes exponentially, or backyard versus front yard. That's true. So I want to make it really complex on the back end, really easy on the front end. I don't want to say too much more than that, but I will have like a really good price calculator. It won't even be a price guide, calculator out, hopefully in the next month or two. So
Sounds fantastic.
yeah, it'll be
And
fun.
and as somebody who has trees, I would love that. And I
Yeah,
love technology. I
yeah.
just want to go to a website,
Because
make
the
some
thing
selection.
I think us arborists have to remember is it's not about what we think things should be done. So arborists are like, you can't do a price guide. There's too many variables. I know what you're saying. The customer doesn't care. The customer wants what the customer wants. And
Sure,
so
absolutely.
you have to read the customer what they want. You have to try to accurately do the best job you can do. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I absolutely agree. So, okay, so you're going to be updating the website. What's next for your company in 2026 and beyond? Where are you looking?
Yeah, so lots of fun things. We're starting a new program. uh, calling it planting life's milestones.
Hmm.
So it'll be more of a social media kind of focus. It'll be anyone who's celebrating a milestone in their life. Maybe they just got married, maybe they just bought a house, maybe they just had a kid. We will people apply for it, and then we will plant a tree for them. Retails around 700 or 800 bucks, and then we share their story online.
Oh,
So it's
cool.
it's a win-win. We
Wow.
get and the neighbors get to hear kind of a story of those within their own city in terms of like what's going on in their life, and then we get some marketing out of it.
Love that.
I think it'll be a lot. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We'll see how it goes. We're
Yeah,
releasing it just before New Year's. I'll
brilliant.
release it to my customers first, and then I'll release it to the broader audience on social media. So if you're not following DeVos Tree Care, do so. But yeah, that's one of my big plans for this coming year. But yeah, there's probably a few others.
Fantastic.
But
And we were
yeah.
talking about social media and Instagram and Facebook a little bit as well. Big fan or not big fan?
Um, I find Facebook, unless you're doing paid ads, isn't very effective. If you're going organic on Facebook, good luck. Uh,
Yeah.
Instagram's a little bit easier. My issue with Instagram is going back to what I said earlier about focusing on what us as arborists think should be put on Instagram versus what customers actually want. I wish more tree services kind of understood you're not trying to sell to your competitors how cool you are or to your customers how cool you are. You're trying to actually offer a service to them and think that through before you post it. We don't need to see you doing a back cut on a tree from 50 feet up. There are a million videos already on that. We want to see like how do you climb the tree safely? Why do you double tie
Mm,
in to a tree before you make a
got it.
cut? Or
Mm.
like how do I identify this tree? Or what are the common issues these trees have that people might want to know? Or I want to plant a tree in my, did I cut out there for a second? I saw some numbers popping up.
Yeah,
No?
I think you just cut out there.
Okay. Are we good?
I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay. I saw some numbers popping up. So
Yeah, yeah. I think we got a
um
big phone call coming in for you.
anyways, my apologies. So yeah, I think Instagram's a great tool for companies.
Mm,
I honestly think that it's misused by most companies.
mm.
It could be leveraged a lot better. So
Yeah, the way I see that you deal with your marketing is very, very intentional about what you do is very intentional about making sure you get the message that the customer needs to know, not about
yeah,
you looking inward on yourself and what you think you should show
yeah,
people about you,
yeah.
right?
I think if you look at a lot of guys on Instagram, it feels like some of them have a lot of followers. They're like tree companies on the other side of the world, half of them.
Mm,
Are like, how does that benefit you? Unless you're like one of those real good gearheads that are working for Petzl or whoever, and this is a form of advertising for them.
right.
But how is it helpful to you and your company if you're just showing off different cool climbing techniques?
Mm.
I just don't get a lot of Instagram accounts. I don't know why they do some of the things that they do.
Think
Doesn't
about
make
your
sense to me.
customers first.
Think
That's
about your customers in your area,
in your
right?
area.
In
Yeah.
your area, right? That the ones who are actually going to give you money,
Mm.
right? So yeah,
All right. So we're, like I said to you before, I got a hard stop coming up here.
yeah,
I would love to have you on the podcast a second time sometime soon.
yeah,
I think it would be really fun to dig into some more of this.
yeah.
Where can people find you if they're interested?
Yes. So the website we've been talking about is DeVos, D-E-V as in Victor, O-S, tree.ca. And then DeVos Tree on Instagram and DeVos Tree Care on Facebook if you're one of those few people who use Facebook. For that, anyways.
I use Facebook, but I am that old.
Yeah, but you don't use it for finding companies.
No, I don't.
So
That's true.
yeah.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that we put your details there as well. And I really
Cool.
appreciate you for sharing so much.
Yeah. Pleasure, Graham. Take care.